Hello, everybody. Scott Golden, Golden Opportunities Coaching here. And if you're new around here, welcome. If you're a subscriber or a regular viewer, welcome back. Basically, what we do around here is we try to take life coaching and social topics and make them into dissectable language for you to understand, make things easy and simple and all that good stuff. We try to update as often as we can, although my schedule is kind of crazy, so sometimes we do large amounts of content in a short amount of time. Sometimes we do several uploads at a time, but there's always quality content multiple times per week. So like, subscribe, comment. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers so we can help with the COVID recovery and all that stuff. So if you have it in you to subscribe, we'd love that. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about what it is if you're in a hard relationship, and what is a hard relationship. What are some signs that you're in a relationship that's too difficult and it might be time to let it go? What are some signs that you may need to look at it and go, hey, this isn't right for me? So there's let's see, about 5 or 6 things I want to go through that give you an indication you're in a relationship that's too hard and not flowing naturally. The natural flow of a relationship is so super essential to its longevity. If it doesn't flow naturally, it's not going to last. You can try and force it to, you can make changes within yourself, but sooner or later, one or both of you will burn out and it's not going to last. If it's not natural, it has a shorter shelf life. And so that's why I'm doing this audio, is because I see so many times in my coaching practice people who have these signs, right? And they're ignoring the signs, and they're miserable and they're unhappy, and maybe they're depressed, maybe they're anxious, maybe they're feeling abused or neglected or any other number of negative emotions. And so here are some signs that you might be in a relationship that's just a little too hard. Number one or both of you is trying to rush things. And this is hard because emotions are part of relationships, right? So at the end of the day, you're going to have moments where it's like, okay, I want to get to a committed status. I want to get to moving in together. I want to get to having sex. I want to get to having a joint bank account. I want to get to marriage or engagement or kids or a house or whatever it is. But if you're not in step with your partner about the pacing of things, the relationship will eventually fail, because both of you have to be in line with the corporate vision of where you're going in order to work together to get there. And so if one of you is wanting kids and the other is wanting travel, or if one of you is wanting travel and the other is wanting to buy a house, or any other number of diverse and opposite life experiences, that relationship is going to eventually fall short of someone's expectation, probably both of yours, and there's challenges there. So the next thing I'm going to combine into, as I'm looking at my notes, I'm going to combine into one thing: time and attention. So relationships, in order to build, need time. You need to carve out time to spend together, right? You need to say, okay, we're gonna hang out every night at 8 o'clock for 2 hours. Maybe that works as a couple, and you watch a TV show, or you play video games, or you go dancing, or you do something together. And what that does is it makes giving attention to your partner deliberate. However, if you're not spending enough time together, that is, you have independent interest, and that interest, be it a friendship, and trust me, there's folks that video games become too much of an interest, or a sport, or another hobby, or the other way, where there's too much time and you don't have independent time to do your own thing. If time and attention isn't balanced, that is, I have time for you and it's carved out, I have time for me and it's carved out, and you're religious about following whatever those rules are. Now, you can change them week to week, or month to month, or every other week to every other week. You can alter them, but you should always have kind of at least a 5 to 7 day plan of where you're going to fit your partner into your life and where they'll fit you into theirs. That way, there isn't the emotional neglect that often comes in relationships, where it's like, well, you never make time for me. And then your partner says something like, well, you never care about me playing World of Warcraft at 3 in the morning while eating Cheerios. And then there's hurt feelings all over the place. And it gets frustrating and people get hurt and it's no fun and then the relationship begins to fall apart. Thirdly, consistency. Look, if you are building a relationship, you need to be able to trust your partner. And trust comes from consistency. If you know that a person is going to react a certain way almost every given time, if you know that your partner is always going to be 15 minutes late, you can plan and ask them to show up half an hour early. If you know that your partner is afraid of heights, then you're probably not going to ask them to go on a roller coaster. If you know that your partner avoids conversations about money because they've got a lot of debt, then it probably isn't a good idea to say, let's buy a house. In other words, consistently knowing and being able to anticipate your partner's needs, but also consistently communicating about things that may be challenges or you may have a different worldview on, or learning to agree to disagree, or learning to agree to only talk about sensitive topics under certain circumstances. All of these things add to consistency. I can know my partner is going to react this way because I've been able to chart this and this and this and that. I've been able to notice these patterns. And once you understand a person's patterns, then you can understand the person. Because a person is always a result of their patterns. Meaning, when you interact with somebody, it doesn't mean they can't deviate from them, but for the most part, I'd say about 85% of the time, the pattern of behavior that is most dominant for them, they will return to unless they've made an active decision to change. And so understanding patterns is super important. The next one. If one or both of you isn't willing to take a risk on each other and trusting each other, and I say something here that's kind of controversial, and I understand that it may make people uncomfortable, so I'd like opinions in the comments below, comment box. Please type in how you feel about the following statement. And it's something I've worked with nearly 14,000 people in 40 countries. At least a third of those would be one-to-one or couples relationships, probably more than that, but I'll be conservative. And I tell people when they're ready to date or when they're looking to date, if you're not ready to lose, if you're not ready to risk losing, you're not ready to date. And they go, what do you mean? It's like, well, relationships, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. If your heart isn't ready to roll dice and take a risk, then that means your expectations of another person may be too high or not clear or not concise, or more common, you're stuck on the hurt and pain of your last partner or previous partner that might have happened a long time ago. You wouldn't believe the number of people, I'd call it 70 to 75%, who are stuck on what happened in a relationship 10, 5, 10, 15 years ago. And they're carrying that with them in the way they relate to current partners and then wondering why they don't ride off into the sunset and be happy. And the answer is, if you haven't cleared the emotional scars, the wounds, the energy from previous relationships before you start dating again, you will carry that baggage with you. You will bring it with you, even if you lie to yourself and say you're fine. It shows in how you relate to others. So be willing to take risks on each other. And if you're not there, figure out how to get there, or it's time to walk away from the relationship. The last thing, needy people. Now, there's nothing wrong with needing support. There's nothing wrong with needing another person. There's nothing wrong, ostensibly, with having needs and expressing them. However, if your partner is always in need and you feel scattered and you feel like you're anticipating their needs consistently and all you're doing is responding to them, it's time to duck out. It's time to go away. Because sooner or later, what happens with that is there's a level of dependency. So there's 3 types of dependency. And if you've never heard this before, it might be worth grabbing a notebook. There's 3 types of dependency. There's independence, which is I do things for myself. There's interdependence, which is we do things for each other. And then there's codependence, which is I expect you to do things for me to make me feel better. Now, ultimately, the healthiest of those 3 things is interdependence. I do things for you because I trust that you do things for me, and that's the foundation of healthy love as well. I trust that you will do things for me, and I depend on you to do some things, and you can depend on me to do some things, and we both are better people as a result. But oftentimes, when there's an instant gratification need that is exposed or understated, problems do resolve. And so that's just some signs that you're in a hard relationship that may need reevaluation. Comment below if you'd like to get in contact. You can do that either through the message box here on YouTube, or you can send me a message at PO Perception on Twitter. Again, that's P as in Paul, O as in Oreo, Perception on Twitter. I get back to people within 24 to 48 hours. So keep your mind on the moment and your feet on the ground. Till next time, everybody.